Happy New Year, Flosstube! I'm Tanya the Starlit Stitcher. Welcome to my channel where I talk about all the cross stitch stuff that I do. I can't believe that it's already 2022. That's so crazy. Now, I did debate on if I wanted to do a WiP parade going into the new year or not, because I did just do one for my first video. But then I decided that I'm going to go ahead and do one anyways, because I have a lot of changes on what's in the WiP list. New stuff, progression on old stuff, and going into the new year, it's just a good time in general to do it. However, before we go into that, first I need to make a correction from last week's video because I made a boo-boo. When I was talking about this pattern, Hands-On Design Winter Wonderland Farm, for some reason I called it Winter Holiday Farm. I don't know why. Obviously my brain was not working when I was talking about it, but yeah. So if you are interested in this pattern, the right name is Winter Wonderland Farm by Hands-On Design. And so now we'll get into all the fun things that I did last week. I have a lot going on now in regards to my cross-stitching stuff because I don't normally stitch so much stuff at once, but we're going to go into new year, new starts, new ways of doing stuff, learning new things in general, and we're going to wing it and see how it goes. So I think the way that I'm going to show this is the newest WIPs down to the oldest, because you've already seen the old stuff already if you've been here before. If not, then everything is new. But anyhow, that's the order that I'm going to show it, is the newest ones to the oldest, because almost everything I'm going to show you today is new. Okay, so I'm going to be referring to my notes a lot because we know how I am about organization. But anyhow, so the newest one I started yesterday. I didn't have a whole lot of time that I put into this because, as some of you may know, I did have to take my daughter back to go on the plane to go home back to her dad in California yesterday, and so I did not have a full day of stitching, but that's okay. I'm still really happy with how this is going. Also, this was not on my list of things to start this week. It wasn't even on my list of things to do in 2022, but it magically ended up being started yesterday anyways, because apparently I'm not very good with sticking to the list. Story of our lives, right? But anyways, I started The Curious Mermaid by Autumn Lane Stitchery. I ended up starting this because my younger daughter, she kept asking me to do the mermaid one. Do the mermaid one, Mommy. So Mommy started the mermaid one yesterday. I think this is a really cute design. Oh my gosh, I have so much glare going on today. But let me take this out because I'm going to show you something really quick on this. Now, I'm going to get this in close enough, but I will be recharting a portion of this in this area here to make it a little more child-friendly for my daughter. Nothing major. I'll tell you more about that when I get to doing that section, but I'm just going to point that out. But if you haven't done any designs, patterns rather, by Autumn Lane Stitchery, they do sell PDF versions in their Etsy shop, which I'm going to link below. I like hard copies, but look at how this is on the outside. Like, this is so cool. Like, the whole outside is like a picture in itself, and they're all like that they do. It's really cool. I just wanted to point that out while I had it out. But now I'm going to actually show you what I did on that yesterday, because I know you're dying to know. I got this done yesterday. Here we go. You know me, not very well organized. But this is what I got done. Not a whole lot, but it's okay. I'm doing this on a 28 count jade lugana by Picture This Plus. It's not the called for fabric, but I am using the called for colors, and I'm stitching this 2/2. That will be really cool when it's done, I think. Like I said, not on the list, but that seems to be a theme I figured out about myself. Okay, I also started Halloween Quaker by Lila Studio. It could be Lila Studio. I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced, but it is this one. This was, excuse me, this was on the list to start this week. But this is this is so fun. Like, it's funner to stitch this than I thought it was going to be. I'm loving it. Let me get the light turned on in here. I thought things looked kind of weird. Good Lord, I'm really disorganized today. Sorry about that. Okay. Maybe I should go back and show you the Curious Mermaid real quick in actual real lighting. Good grief. Okay, so this is Curious Mermaid with the jade lugana in light. I can't believe that I did that. Okay, and here we go for Halloween Quaker. Now this is on a 32 count Sprite Lugana by Picture This Plus, and I'm stitching this 1/2. Let me hold this closer. So you see it is kind of sparse in there because it is just a 32 count, not something higher like 36 or 40. But I think that it looks fine for this particular design. And so that's how I left it in. It looks fine, especially, you know, the further back you get, you can see it all, you can see it just fine. And this is with the called for colors. Not a massively huge start, but I really love that so far today. I think I'm going to work on this some more later today after I'm done filming. That's so much fun. I haven't done a Quaker design before like that. Now I know why people like them so much. Okay, I also started Gather Here by Hello from Liz Mathews, and this is that pattern. And this is how that is going. Okay. Oh, we got good showing on this fabric today. This is probably closer than last week even. That makes me happy. But this is a 32 count Murmur Lugana by Picture This Plus, and I'm using DMC 3371 for this. I started with just using one thread over two, but I decided that for this particular design it wasn't full enough for me, and so I pulled that out and went with 2 over 2. And it's almost too, no, it's not really too full because it's fine thread wise getting them into the holes. I think for me is maybe my needle might be too big, but I have a really hard time threading size 26 needles when I'm using 2 threads. And so when I changed from using 1 thread to 2 threads, I bumped up and started using a size 24 needle. And so it does feel kind of weird as I'm poking through and stitching this. So that kind of bothers me during the stitching process on that. But as far as the monochromatic, with it being just one color, that's actually not bothering me at all. At least not on this. And it's stitching up quicker than I thought it would. This is about a day's worth of stitching. Like, I've been doing 2 hours of this daily since Saturday. So this is about 8 hours worth of stitching. So this is going to go overall quicker than what I thought. So that's pretty good. Now, when I get to doing Pandemic later in this year, that might bother me with that color, because that is way bigger than this. But anyhow, this is how this is going. I feel like I got a really good start on this. Very happy with the progress on that. Okay, now I know that some jade fanatics have been looking forward to this. I also started unicorn poop for sale, and I got a very good start on this. I worked on it, let's see, Friday, New Year's Eve. All my stuff is sticking together. Get that in the bag. And I also worked on it New Year's Day, but this is what it will look like when it's done. This is a retired pattern now from Heaven and Earth Designs. The artist is Sheena Pike. But this is how that is. And this is how it's going so far. I, of course, did have to use my stabby unicorn needle minder for this. The opportunity was there and I took it. I'm stitching this on an 18 count easy count aida. I think it's by Zwiegart. Just simply for the ease of being able to work on it in here without the best of lighting going on. And I don't normally stitch diagonally, like you see how this is, you know, I don't normally stitch that way, but just because that upper corner is the rainbow, that's the way that I decided to stitch it. Like I stitch normally, like, you know, I stitch one way and then I stitch back. And so that's kind of what I did, you know, and then on the next color, and then now I did work with multiple colors because there is some sections where I was working with 4 colors at a time, but that's not what I consider to be confetti stitching. And so this is something around 1,400 stitches, maybe a little bit less than that in this area. So that's really good progress on this so far for just a day and a half, basically, of working on it, at least for full coverage design for me. Now, when we start getting over into like this area with her hat, that will probably have a lot of confetti in it. But we're not there yet, so no, we're not going to worry about that yet. Get this put back in there. Go away, kitten. Okay. Now this one is the one that I work on in the evenings when I want to stitch and I can't see, because I'm special that way. But this is American Deer. Let me go ahead and show the picture for those who haven't seen it yet. This is sort of what it will look like when it's done. And I say sort of because for it to look like this, it will need a whole ton of colors to get that kind of definition. They only gave me 20 in the kit. This is an 11 count aida. It's a stamped kit, so they have the stuff stamped on the fabric to make it really easy for you to see where to put your threads at, and then when you're done you wash it and all that comes out and you can't see it. But this is how this is going. I feel like I did a lot of progress on this week, because pretty much from here on this way, that was a fairly large chunk. And like I said, for something that I've only been picking up like 2 or 3 nights a week, for a couple hours at a time, that's not bad. And I was looking back at my first video where I first showed this, and it had been way, you know, I was kind of over here somewheres. So like almost all of this I've done in the last month with not a whole lot of stitching time put into it. But that's doing really well. It'll eventually get done. And this is a full coverage, so as you can see, it does go down. But yeah, there was something else I was going to say about this too, but I forgot what it was. And I'm sure I'll figure it out and say, oh yeah, let's go talk about it again. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Slowly but surely it will get done. My husband said he only asked how that one was going like once this week, but he really actually asked me like 4 times. So I think that he really does actually like it a lot, and he just doesn't actually want to come out and say it. Now the last WiP that I have, this one is in timeout. It's not because I don't like it, it's nothing like that. It's because it's being done on a 25 count fabric 1/1, and that's just too difficult for me to work on right now when we're here in the camper. And so I put it away, and it will get worked on. I will be working on it more again when we're not in the camper anymore. But it's a Star Wars design. This is a PDF pattern that I found on Etsy, and so I got that. And I believe I have a 2-page start on it. So let me pull it out of its pillowcase. Anything that's being stored a long time, I stick it in a white pillowcase. I just kind of feel like it protects it better. Let me get that out. And this is my start on that. Like, look at that. That's looking so good. Yes, I left a lot of parked threads whenever I put this away. So those will get cleaned up whenever I start working on it again. But look at that. Again, this is a 1/1 on 25 count. Full cross. And I might have forgot to say it, but the unicorn poop for sale, I'm stitching that with 2 threads. So that's 2 threads over 1 on the 18 count. And this is 1/1 on 25 count. So yeah, I still like this a lot. I still want to do this. I just don't have the physical ability to work on it right now. And so I will get back to it when I can. And until then, I have tons of other amazing projects to work on, so no worries about that. Okay, the next one I have to show you that I started this week, it's also a finish. Remember during my Black Friday haul, I showed you that I got this, the Welcome Tooth Fairy by Lizzie Kate. I decided that I needed to do that ASAP before my little loses any more teeth. She's only lost 2, and so turning this into a pillow, she can use it as her tooth fairy pillow when she loses more teeth. Oh, I don't have a big enough thingy. Here we go. Now you'll see that this is pretty big because the called for fabric is a 28 count. I decided to use stuff that I already had to make this. So I took a piece off of that 18 count Silver Moon Zwiegart fabric that I had. And because the pattern also has 1/1 areas here for the child's name, I decided to stitch over 2 on 18 count Aida. which was kind of weird stitching it like that. But my daughter is also, her personality is go big or go home. So I don't think she would care about having a bigger tooth fairy pillow, okay? I also changed the colors on it. Where did my, oh, I'm using it behind this. Hello. I'm super organized. Can you tell? Like I've said before, if I'm ever actually perfectly organized, you know something is wrong with me. All right, so the pink is DMC 604. The green is 703. The dark purple that I used on these borders is DMC 550. So 550. And the other purple for the words here, that's 208. And the blue here in the star is 162. All right, and you'll also see that I still have my grids that I made with my Clover water-soluble pen. That's because, like I said, I was doing over 2 threads on this on Aida, and it was really kind of strange. But once I was working on it a little bit, it was easier. I stitched this using 4 threads on everything except for, you see this box down here? I just gridded a box the same as it shows on the pattern, so I would know where my 1/1 areas was for the child's name. Now hers, I put Hoot Hoot because that's one of her nicknames, and I thought it would be cute, so I just put Hoot Hoot on there. But so that's where your child's name would go, and that's the 1/1 section. I did the 1/1 section using 2 threads. Yes, I used 2 threads in that section, and I used 4 threads everywhere else. And I will be washing this later today so that the grids will come off. I left it like this so that you could actually see my Clover pen thing in action. But I'll be washing this, ironing it, getting it dried and all that, and cutting, backing fabric, and then I have a different fabric that I'm going to use for a pocket that her tooth is actually going to go in. And so I'll be cutting all that stuff out and having it ready. She wants to watch me put it together with the sewing machine, so I'm just going to cut the pieces and have them ready, and then when she gets home. I did suck it up and buy a bag of polyfill stuffing. A few weeks back I was debating to get that whenever I was doing the daisy, but I didn't. And so now I have a bag of polyfill that stays outside in my van because I don't have a place to put it here in the camper, which was how come I was trying to avoid buying it in the first place, because that's where I'm at on space. But I can't really do this with a beanbag though. That's not really going to work all that well. So polyfill stuffing, that will be a first for me this week, and also closing up a pillow with polyfill stuffing. Like, I guess you're supposed to like stitch all the way around, leave yourself a thingy to stuff your stuffing in there, and then stitch it shut. I've never done that before either. So we will see how that goes, and I will show that to you next week. Trying new things. Another motto that's going to be for this year for me is less thinking, more doing, because I spend way too much time trying to plan stuff than I do actually doing it. Sometimes I do that while I'm actually stitching too, thinking too much about what pathway am I going to take and what color am I going to do. It's just pick one and go. As long as you're actually actively working on it, it moves along. If you're sitting there just thinking and not actually doing it or stitching it or whatever, it takes like 8,000 years longer. So less thinking, more doing, which I'm also applying to my videos, because if I try to do too much planning, I'll never end up doing a video. Yeah. But my last thing, I'm super excited to show you this because I didn't think it was going to get done. Okay, so remember how last week I had a thing where I was trying to get a hold of some more green to finish up my Farmhouse Christmas. And they had sent me the wrong one. So I needed to wait for the right one to come. Well, guess what? Somebody upstairs is looking out for me because that came on Friday at around 10 in the morning. And I had it ready to go to put in there. And look at this. I'm so excited. Look at that. It's done, guys. Now this is the Farmhouse Christmas series by Little House Needleworks. And this was what I was working on with Vintage Stitcher for Flossmas during the month of December. So that is 100% done. Okay, now this frame that it's in, it's actually a wall decor item that I picked up in the regular wall decor section of Hobby Lobby. My cat is being a menace today. Sorry. She keeps knocking into my, how'd you call it, tripod and making it move. But anyhow, it was labeled as being a 16 by 16. And so I assumed that this area in here was 16 by 16. It's not. It did have glass in there, but whenever I was taking the wall decor item out, I guess I got too violent with it because I accidentally broke the glass. Whoopsie. And then I cut my mat board, which I thought was going to need to be 16 by 16 because that's what I thought that this area was. And I put my project on there. Of course, I wasn't smart and, you know, testing the mat board in the frame before putting my cross stitch on there. So I went to go and put it in here and it didn't want to go in. I'm like, well, crap, because this area in here is actually 15 by 15 and not 16 by 16, even though it was labeled as 16 by 16. And so I was like, oh, well, at least I had put it bigger, so I had the ability to make it smaller. So good thing it wasn't the other way around, because that would have been really bad. But it did mean that, because like on my mat board, I don't lace, because I have no idea how to do that. And I think that it would probably take more patience than what I actually have, and my stuff would probably never get done. So I just tacky glue everything whenever I'm putting it on the mat board, at least for in frames. That's what I do. Maybe you're not supposed to do that. Maybe you are. I don't know. But that's just the way that I do it. I haven't had any issues with it so far. But anyhow, so since I had done that, that meant that I got to peel up the edges of my cross stitch on there. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I cut off what I needed to on that piece of mat board. And then I stuck my cross stitch back on there. Whew. Now as for this floral, this is just a floral bunch that I picked up in Walmart. It did not look like this when I bought it. It was just in, you know, how everything comes on a stem and it's all like, you know, blooming outwards. And I cut everything off of the stem thingy, and then I stuck them back together this ways, the way that it was going. There was more stuff in there, like there was some weird like ornament ball things with some more of these gooseberries and stuff like that. I didn't use that part. And then there was also a bigger fluffier pine needle thingy, which I also didn't use, but I saved that stuff because I might want to use them for something else. And this is what I came up with. It's not even on there or anything because I haven't worked with floral stuff. This was a first for me this week. And it also does not look anywhere near this good from the back as it does from the front. I thought that I might try to put this stuff on like magnets so that I could like magnet it on there and take it off or whatever, but when I got to working with the stuff, I couldn't figure out how I was going to actually stick all that stuff together and actually have it hold together. I'm going to show you guys the back, and maybe you'll run away screaming, but I'm going to do it because some people might want to know. Maybe this will give courage for other people to try new stuff too, like I am. And this might not be the way that other people do things or the best way to do it, but this is the way that I did it. I'm still learning. Maybe you are too. So maybe we can go through this journey together and learn some new stuff. But this is the back. These whites, they're some white channel stick, because like I did like one bunch at a time and I channel sticked them to hold them together, and then I did the same thing on the other side, so I stuck those on there, and I hot glued the crap out of this stuff to make sure that it would stay on there. And I also did a little bit along the tops, which I kind of hid with the furry pine needle thing and the pine cone, so it is along the top edge too. And then, to hide all that stuff from the front, that's what the poinsettia's job was. I just cut the stem short on that and stuck it through the hole in between there, and I hot glued the crap out of that too to make sure that it stayed in there. I mean, it works. And then something else that I did was one of my gooseberries. Whenever I was working with them, some of the little ball thingies kept falling off, and I was like, no. Well, these holly leaves are kind of strategically placed to kind of cover up the worst of where they fell off. See? Things are not as they seem. I mean, this is also going to be the year of not caring what the back of my stuff looks like, because really, probably nobody's going to notice it except for me. But look at that. That looks, I'm really happy with it. I mean, the back might not be that good to look at, but the front looks good, so I'm happy with that. Especially, like I said, this was my first time working with floral stuff, so things will get better over time, maybe a little less messy and more pleasing in the back to look at than what it is now, but we all got to start somewhere, right? And so that's where I was on this. Here's the front again. Ooh, that's so big to try and get in there. And again, I did cover it up with brown paper all over the back whenever I was done. I am a little bit bothered that I broke the glass, but it's kind of as I told my husband, this is something that's only going to be out around Christmas time, so it's not too bad for it to not have glass. Some people don't put glass in their frames anyways, so that would be fine for them. If this was something I was going to be having out 100% of the time, I would definitely go and get me a new piece of glass and put it in here. But because it's only going to be seasonal, I think it's going to be just fine. I'm just not going to put it anywhere near the dining table because sometimes my children are savages, and if you're a parent, you know why. Yeah. But that is everything that I have to show you already today. So maybe not as long as of a WiP parade as what some other people might have, but it's kind of long for me. I mean, what is that? 5 active projects now, I think. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I've got 6. 1 is in timeout. So yeah, 5 active. I've never had that many active at once before. So like I said earlier in the video, we're going to see how that goes and put my organizational skills to the test, which hopefully will go better than this video did. But I'm very happy with the progress that I made on all of them. And so I look forward to showing you them again every week as we go on. And what I've also been doing is I've been taking notes down on how long that I've been spent stitching on it. Like if I spent the whole day stitching it, then I marked it down as 1 day. On my gather here, when I stitch it for 2 hours at a time, I put on there that I stitched it for 2 hours, because I am trying to make a comparison of how long it actually takes me to stitch it versus how long thought that it was going to take me to stitch it, because I also had made a list when I was picking my things to do for 2022. I wrote down how long that I'm going to think it takes to do each thing. So I'm going to try and keep track of that so I can have a pretty good idea of where I'm at in regards to progressing and finishing on things. I'm going to be kind of pushing it, but I'm going to be keeping track anyways. And so, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all next week with hopefully some more awesome progress. Thank you. Bye-bye.